What's up, guys? Weather Wednesday coming at you with another Watcher of Realms video, but also another Raid Shadow Legends video. Because today I am going to compare my favorite two gacha games. Now, if you've been around on this channel long enough, you may know that I have covered Raid in the past, but it's been a little while. And that simply is because Watcher of Realms is new. It's more exciting. I want to see where the game goes, and because the people who cover Raid are a lot more established there, and I just wanted to see if I could get in on the ground floor a little bit with Watcher of Realms, and so far it's going pretty well. I'm really enjoying the game, but guess what? I still enjoy Raid. I do. I play both games, and it's not that hard for me to be able to play both games at the same time, or at least maybe not at the same moment all the time, but on the same day. But I want to talk about want to compare and contrast, the things that I find important about the two games, how they're similar, what I favor between the two of them and why, and just kind of seeing what Watcher of Realms can do to catch up with Raid and what they already do better than Raid. But before we get started, I'm going to pull the last crystal for the weekend. And as usual, I don't pull a legendary. Because between the two games, I honestly don't have the best luck. At least as far as raids go. Now, one thing about Watcher of Realms is I've actually gotten very lucky regarding the quality of my heroes compared to the champions that I've pulled on Raid. I have gotten some good pulls on Raid, but that's because I've played for 2.5 years. What I haven't gotten are all the meta champions. And that's another reason why I wanted to get in on Watcher of Realms early, is because some of those early champions, like in Raid, like if you look back at Duchess or Rhodos or Siphi, those were all champions that have been in the game for a long time, and I haven't gotten any of them. So I wanted to get in on Watcher early, and in fact I have gotten some very good heroes in the game. I got my first 3 legendary heroes were Valeria, who's very good, X, who is amazing, and Zillatu, who is also amazing. And as you can see, I've gotten some, I've got possibly the best tank in the game, Brokir. I've gotten one Lord. Lords are very difficult to get, but overall, I don't have the most legendaries because my rates are not amazing. But I've gotten some quality legendaries. But one thing that this game is lacking is the numbers. They don't have nearly the number of, champions that Raid Shadow Legends has. Partially because Raid has been around for so long, and they continue to put out new champions. But Raid has something like 800 or 900 champions, and Watcher of Realms just simply doesn't have the numbers to compete. If you look at the gallery, you can see the totals. There's 172 heroes. Now they are adding all the time. Every couple weeks they come out with a couple of new heroes. But here's my one problem with it. They're always coming out with new legendary heroes. There are more legendary heroes than there are epic heroes. There are more legendary heroes than there are rare heroes, uncommon, common. They just keep coming out with legendaries, and they ignore the epics. That's part of the reason why it's so easy to get all of the epics, and I have almost all of them. I've gotten multiple copies of most of them other than the super rare ones, and I've gotten them, ascended to, +5 on almost all of them. So I think it's going to be hard to say that Raid just doesn't completely wipe the floor with all of its competitors when it comes to the number of champions that they have available. But give Watcher time. The one thing I would like to say to the makers of Watcher Realms is make more epics, make more rares, make them more useful. That's something that Raid did very well early on, is that they actually made rares and epics that were useful. And the epics in Watcher, they are useful, but they're very easy to get. I have almost all of them. And I don't get excited for any epics. And it's very early. I've only been playing the game for about 4 months. So I really think that they need to up the number of heroes overall, which they're working on, but make more of other rarities besides legendary. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, point number 2, is the pay-to-win nature of these games. You can spend a lot of money on either of these games, but, and this is very slight difference perhaps, and I'm not a big spender. I've spent a little bit on Raid. If I had gift card money, I used it on Raid. Not a lot. I'm a very low spender. I am a little bit of a spender. So far, I'm free to play on Watcher. I could change with time. I promise nothing. But I feel like you can progress much easier in Watcher Realms without spending money. The pop-ups are less egregious. The squeezing of your dollar is less abusive. That's why people don't normally talk about it on Watcher. Like, oh, they're such a greedy company. Like, yeah, they have the same kind of business model, but it's not so insane. The only reason you really want to spend money on this game, I think, personally, is if you want to be top end. If you want to be like the number 1 arena person. I'm never gonna be that. I can slowly build my hero collection and it'll be fine. Like, I don't have to be the first one to beat Immortal Codex or to get to the top of all the gear raids and stuff like that. I'll get there eventually. I'll get the heroes eventually. Whereas Raid, sometimes it's just very difficult. Now, I've played long enough that I have a lot of legendaries. I probably have over 100 legendaries. Here's the thing with whether you get a lot of champs really fast, really slow. The fact is, Raid does a great job of making you spend money to keep up. Because not only are you trying to pull shards, but the Krakens and whales, they're buying gear, they're buying chaos ore, they're buying so much energy to go through all these different dungeons because there's so much to do now. And now, you've got Sand Devil and you got Phantom's Grove and you gotta do all these extra things, and they've got the blessings. It's too much. In my opinion, it's too much. You can't keep up by spending without spending way too much. So when it comes to pay to win, yeah, both games are pay to win. But you're probably gonna have to pay a lot more to win in Raid. Now, they're both too much, right? Both way too much. You're gonna have to pay to win both games. Now, the next thing that has been so important to Raid over the years, when it comes to the game, is not the gameplay itself, but the artwork. In particular, the artwork for their champions. This is, besides their marketing, the number 1 reason why they're the number 1 gacha game. It's because their champions look amazing. Especially the legendaries and some of the epics. But they look so good. They're so original. They're so creative. They're so cool to look at. Guess what? Sir Realms? Listen, I'm not a connoisseur of digital art. You gotta say it. It's on the level, right? Like, I can't easily tell you which one is better. And honestly, I think Watcher might be a little bit better. Like, personal preference, it might be a little bit better. And not only that, one thing is really separating Watcher from Raid for me, and it's these cinematics. Whenever you pull certain heroes, these cool cutscenes. Now, when you first see it for the first time, you first pull it, it makes it so much more exciting. I love it. I think it's great. I think Raid should rip off that. I mean, considering that Watcher really does so many things that they've seen Raid do in the past. I think it'd be cool if Raid stepped up and did something similar. Are they going to? Probably not. But this is really the number one thing of all the things that has got me excited early on this game is when you pull, these amazing heroes and they have these sweet cutscenes. They're so cool. I love it. So I actually give the nod to Watcher of Realms on this. Now, number four thing I want to talk about is fusions. Both games have fusions. Now, typically in Raid, they're going to be legendary fusions. You can do all these different events and pull your shards, and within a couple weeks, you can earn yourself a free legendary. And you can do the same thing in Watcher of Realms, except it seems like they do a lot more epics than they do legendaries. I've been playing for 4 months, and I'm working on the third epic fusion, and there's been one legendary fusion. So yeah, I would like it if Watcher of Realms did more legendaries than they do epics. But the epics that they choose are great because they're typically lords or very rare heroes to get, very rare epics. So I think that I kind of give them a pass on that. But I give them a bigger pass because the one thing that they do that Raid doesn't is that they make it so much easier. Raid really squeezes every last shard out of you. They make you wait weeks and weeks and weeks to pull, and you gotta pull them during the weekends of the fusion. And that's usually the big difference between doing and not doing a fusion. They also take a ton of energy. They make you do very specific events, and they're hard. Like, especially for a newer player. Now, for me now, I've been playing for 2.5 years. I'm gonna have the shards. Energy's no big deal. I'll get there. If I really, really want to do a fusion, and about 2/3 of the time I probably do. They're not that hard, but for a newer player, especially an inexperienced player, it's so difficult, so hard. But my experience in Watcher is that fusions are super easy, and not only are they easy, if you really put the time and effort into it, you can usually get a second copy of the hero. I think that's great. It's a much more enjoyable experience. So I definitely give the nod to Watcher on that. The next one is playtime. Like I said earlier, there is so much to do in Raid. That can be a blessing and a curse. But look at all these things. Now they've added Cursed City. You gotta do that every day. Doom Tower, you gotta do that every day. Not only is there a daily clan boss, but there's a weekly clan boss. And boy, does Hydra take a long time, especially if you really want to push for a really good score. Then there's Classic Arena, there's Tag Team Arena, there's Live Arena that nobody plays. Plus the Faction Wars that takes some time. Plus, you got all these dungeons. You gotta do Iron Twins every day. You gotta upgrade you have to get the gear, you got to upgrade the gear. There's just way too much to do. So, I mean, if you got the time, you got the resources, hey, you got a lot to do in the game, and that's exciting. But if you don't have as much time, but you still want to grind a little bit, right? The point of these games is to grind a little bit. There's enough to do in Watcher, and I'm sure that they're going to be adding more and more. Just since I started playing, they added the Immortal Codex. It's a little bit of an extra thing to do, but it doesn't take a lot of time. Unless you're trying to get like the very best score, then yeah, anything can take hours if you're trying to min-max something. But you know, if you just want to make a good run, you can do it in like 5 minutes or whatever. No big deal. So when it comes to playtime, you know, which one is better? Do you want to do a ton of stuff, or do you want to do a little bit of stuff? Personally, I like having something to do. I play these games kind of to kill time between other things that I've got to do in my life. Now, there's a lot of dead time in life for some of us, and I like to run things in the background too. Just keeps things interesting throughout the day. So that's kind of a personal preference there. Pick your poison. You want too much to do or not have enough to do. Now, the next thing is Arena. And quite frankly, when it comes to Watcher of Realms, Arena's not that exciting. You know, there are some days when I literally will just make one auto run and then ignore it for the rest of the day. And it's not that big of a deal. You know, the rewards for Arena are okay. And so, personally, I have not made Overlord yet. I pretty much always end up in Platinum 3. If the reward difference is not that big of a deal, a few extra diamonds in one of these bad boys, whatever. In Raid, you know, I finally, a couple months ago, filled out my Great Hall, so I don't have to be playing Arena all day, every day. But, unfortunately, if you want to get really good at Arena, those battles can take a long time. Especially when it comes to, if you're trying to do live Arena, those battles take forever. And, you know, the classic Arena, if you just want to farm gold 5 like I do, it's not that hard. You just pick an easy opponent and you run a speed team. No big deal. Let's see how long this takes. You know, there can be little tricks if somebody's throwing in stone skin or whatever. Some of these runs can take a little bit longer. Okay, let's see how long a typical speed run takes for me. And what was that, 6 or 7 seconds? Pretty fast. You can do 5 of those battles a day if you want, or you can do 45 battles a day if you want. It doesn't take that long if you're trying to do a speed run. But like I said, if you're trying to get into a live arena, that's going to take a while. But when it comes to Watcher, I'm not even going to do a battle because it's going to take a couple minutes each battle, or at least a minute or two. It's not that hard. Some arena challenges you can do auto, some you have to do manual. Honestly, it's just kind of a pain for me. It's not my favorite part of the game. So, which one do I like better? Maybe I'm just used to the arena in Raid. I'd say regular arena is pretty smooth sailing for me. 3v3 arena, it's kind of dull. And live arena, it would be a lot better if it was a lot faster, to be honest. Just takes too much time. It can be fun, it can be interesting, but then you get just those slow down teams that just take too long. I don't really like arena in either game, to be honest. Who's the winner? Nobody. Not me. Don't love Arena. And the final thing. The final thing that I want to talk about between these two games is the guild boss / clan boss. Now, when it comes to, the good old Demon Lord, it took me a long time to get a good clan boss team that I can auto. Now I can do it, and I take down the top 4 Demon Lord clan bosses every day. Not a big deal. I can auto sometimes, or I can semi-auto, and it's not that big of a deal. But Hydra is fun to figure out, but man, it takes so much time, and there's so much RNG, and it's such a pain. But my clan has not gotten up to Nightmare, but I have no problem with brutal, hard, or normal. As you can see, I have the top score currently on all 3 in my clan. Not that hard. I honestly auto all of it. I auto all of it now because it's just not worth the time to manual that anymore. I can't be spending, 2 or 3 hours a week on Hydra. Too much time. But Watcher of Realm, it's even easier. It takes like 2 minutes to auto fight. I do it in the middle of the night. I press a button and it plays. I press the button again, another 2 minutes, and I fall back asleep. Most of the time, once you get your team set up. And progression has been much faster for me on this. Now, to get up to 50,000 blood, who knows? That might take me a year or more to get up there because I'm free to play. That's okay. Like, I don't feel like there's a big difference, in the rewards. Maybe the rewards up here are amazing, but it's just, even when I was doing Nightmare 2, I was getting okay rewards, just like I get in Nightmare 4. The best I've done is a little over 7,000 blood. So on Nightmare 4, what did I do last time? Yeah, just over 7,000. But I'm getting there. It's just a slow progression. As my heroes get better, my team gets better. And that's all it is. When it came to Raid, it took me close to a year and a half to get a 1-key Nightmare 4 team. And that's a little bit slower than a lot of players, but it took a long time. So it's super easy now, but it wasn't that much fun waiting for just the right champion. And that's the big problem with creating your Ultra Nightmare clan boss and raid is you have to have just the right champion. I had to get Helicath before I could do it. When it comes to guild boss, you can run all sorts of heroes. It's not that complicated. Yes, some are better than others. And sure, you need the epic Dolores, but they run 10 times events for her. Not that hard to get her. I have an A5 Dolores. It wasn't that hard to do. It wasn't that hard to get heroes who do good damage. It was a lot more enjoyable for me personally. So that's my takeaway from Watcher of Realm versus Raid. I'm not going to say that either game is better than the other. They both have their advantages, one over the other. One thing I didn't mention when it comes to heroes versus champions is it is so much easier. It is so much easier to click the wrong button. It is so much easier to level up champions. This is the greatest time saver ever, is the quick start up. Everybody who's played both games knows that. It's the biggest difference between the two games is that. And when you have extra rares, you can sell them for diamonds, and that's amazing. I love that. I love that about this game. But I like both games. I do. Just being honest, some people absolutely love Raid and they won't play anything else like it because all other games are dumb. Some people hate Raid so much and they gave up on it and they moved on to a very similar game. So, whatever you think about either game, I enjoy them both. So let me know in the comments, have you left Raid for Watcher? Have you stuck with Raid? Have you tried all the different games? Maybe you played like Diablo Immortal, or you played Dragonair or something. I did try both of those games. This is a little bit more for me. I enjoy them both. I see the positives and the negatives in both of them. I still play both and I enjoy both. They both can be frustrating, but that's part of the fun too. That's it. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. I would love to be able to put out more content for you. And the more subscribers I get, the more I'm able to do that. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll check you out next time with more Watcher of Realms content. And maybe Raid sometimes, who knows?